Hello. I'm starting a little bit early, but I always like to start off with a couple Bible verses to remember. So, in Matthew 18, verse 6, but whoso shall offend one of these little ones, which believe in me, it were better for him that a millstone were hanged about his neck, and that he were drowned in the depth of the sea. And then in Matthew 18:10, take heed that you despise not one of these little ones, for I say unto you, that in heaven their angels do always behold the face of my Father which is in heaven. Thank you everyone for coming. I've got at the bottom of the screen if you need to know if anything about trafficking or got any hints or tips, you can contact ourrescue.org by calling excuse me 818-850-6146. Always show this copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is the use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. I hope you say hello in the comments. I'll try to say your name the best I can without saying too much. So I'll go ahead and today we're talking about the ourrescue.org. We Their statement is we exist to rescue children from sex trafficking. Well, I had heard some interesting things online, and there's a thing going on about Mel Gibson. Well, I did further research on it, and so without further ado, I will show y'all what I had found. And he does get a lot of credit for what he has done. All right. The Mel Gibson's team responds to the rumors he's making a documentary about a worldwide trafficking ring. One of the strangest rumors to emerge this week were the widespread claims that Mel Gibson was in the process of directing a four-part documentary series set to expose a 34 billion worldwide trafficking operation, despite nothing even approaching concrete evidence being presented. The source of the speculation was questionable to say the least, but the internet ran with it anyway, all while the world waited for official comment. Needless to say, the actor and filmmaker's team have now responded to the scuttlebutt, and they delivered exactly the response most people were expecting. While Gibson's team declined to comment, when the Wrap inquired on the matter, the two-time Academy winner's publicist, Alan Nerobe, did let the Associated Press know that he is not making any documentary. Furthermore, Operation Underground Railroad founder Tim Ballard also offered his own 2 cents, where he echoed the sentiment. He said, Mel deserves all the credit for taking the initiative to further the critical work that we do. I am personally grateful for his support as we work on this documentary. However, reports this four-part series is actually being produced by Mel Gibson are not accurate. It's being produced by Nick Netson, DNA Films, and includes several executive producers such as Kyle Cease, Tony and Sage Rodmans, and other wonderful and talented people. In short, Gibson has been involved with the organization in the past, but he's not taken on any creative or behind the camera duties on the project. It does not exist, though, just not with his involvement. So he does got a lot of say and provides a lot of information, trying to get the stories out and such. So a lot of people don't know about StreamYard. So show the settings, show my camera. Hello, Mary Haynes. Good to see you. And so I show the settings of what I have to do if y'all ever get this thing. And in a minute, when I change the settings, you will not be able to hear me speak because, so that you'll be able to hear the video. Okay, so I'm fixing to show y'all what Hour is about. It's basically about the Underground Railroad, what they're doing, Operation Underground Railroad. And I think it's very important to get it out there. And I will go ahead and put that on the bottom of the screen again before I go back to that. Okay. Now I got to quieten my voice again to be able to, I can play this for you.
How many, how many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
It is the fastest.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen. It has already passed the illegal arms trade, and soon it's gonna pass the drug trade. Because you can sell a bag of cocaine one time to a child 5 to 10 times a day. God's children are not for sale.
How long have you been doing this?
12 years now.
How many pedophiles you got?
288.
How many kids you found?
Timoteo, por rescatar a mi verdad. Puedes ayudarme a encontrar a mi hermana.
Te lo prometo.
We're Homeland Security. You know we can't go off rescuing Honduran kids in Colombia.
Which means she'll disappear for good. Imagine walking into her room right now, seeing an empty bed. What we do?
You quit your job, and you go and rescue those kids.
So at this moment, she could be a block down the road, or she could be in Moscow, Bangkok, LA. She's a major operator.
It's all rebel territory. No one goes in. Not the army, not the police, not us.
What if this was your daughter?
There's no Marine unit coming.
You're on your own.
This job tears you to pieces. And this is my one chance to put those pieces back together.
When God tells you what to do, you cannot hesitate.
An estimated 2 million children are trafficked every year, and we can help them. Sound of Freedom is based on a true story about real-life heroes saving kids from the dark world of child trafficking. We know this is heartbreaking and it hurts to look at, but the first step in helping these children is hearing their story. Not enough people know this problem exists, and even fewer people are willing to do anything about it. Our goal is to inspire 2 million people to attend the film's opening weekend, to represent the 2 million trafficked children around the world. To spread the word, Angel Studios set up a Pay It Forward program where you can pay for someone else's ticket who might not otherwise see it. If the ticket price is stopping you from attending, claim your free ticket at angel.com/freedom. Sound of Freedom opens the week of July 4th. Every parent, every adult, and every teenager in America should be there to see it. If millions of us come together today to see this film, we could propel the movement to help save millions of children around the world. And you can send the message that God's children are no longer for sale.
Wow, that was very impactful. Okay, and this place it says about us. We exist to rescue children from sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. Their vision is we lead the fight against child sex trafficking and sexual exploitation around the globe. Our work has no boundaries. We go to the darkest corners of the world to assist law enforcement in rescuing children and ensure ongoing aftercare. We provide critical resources to law enforcement and preventative efforts that benefit at risk children worldwide. Our resolve never falters, and we will faithfully persevere until every child is safe. This is where I had found the video when I first came to the site. Also, the video I just played, so it's very important. Our action plan, Operation Underground Railroad, is leading the fight against sex trafficking and sexual exploitation with 4 bold strategies. Uh-oh, clicked on international operations. That's where they utilize a sustainable rescue model of direct intervention to bring freedom and healing to victims of human trafficking and sexual exploitation. The Our operations directly responds to international government requests to develop intelligence and assist to carry out rescue efforts. Through extensive undercover work and intelligence gathering, excuse me, our operators work to identify as many victims of human trafficking as possible. all while working closely with our aftercare to anticipate survivor needs. Here's a process. Develop relationship with a law enforcement agency. Number two is identify how our can help. Three, design a strategy. Four, take action. Five, assist with rescue and aftercare. Six, provide evidence as appropriate to assist with prosecution. Intervention is a necessity. They must not be forgotten, and each day that goes by is another day that they have to endure. This is from Undercover Hour Operator. Our impact, they say that 4,000 plus predators have been arrested, that 6,000 plus survivors have recovered, have been recovered, and 1,000 plus operations supported. Recent operations, they said, we do not stand for trafficking of children, and we will do all we can to stop exploitation on its tracks. Read about recent operations below. There's or here's one of the things. Operation Ozone, one survived, rescued, and two traffickers arrested. This is just a little touch of it. Operations may look different, but at the heart of every rescue is the tireless dedication to protecting the innocent. This was the case with our operators discovered a young woman, Linda, on an online account advertising her to be sexually exploited. Intelligence revealed the account was connected to a karaoke bar where Linda worked. Working undercover, operators learned that the owners, a husband and his wife, exploited her sexually. Linda was abused by bar customers, sold to others for overnight sex services, exploited in a room behind the bar, and then forced to share the profits with the bar owners. Operators noted that Linda was exploited up to 14 times in one day when she told them about the money she had made with her services. However, Linda seemed to have become accustomed to the abuse. Tragically, Linda saw the abusers as her new parents. She trusted them after she ran away from home. The owner's daughter helped her get a job at the karaoke bar and find her a new home. All this love and support made it hard to see the abuse she was experiencing. Our undercover operators gathered this intel and infiltrated the bar, all to develop a safe rescue plan. Local police worked with our to ensure justice for the abusers and hope for Linda. When sufficient evidence was collected, the operation was set in motion. Operations are ever changing, fluid situations. We never know why plans change at the last minute. We question every possibility. Was a victim moved to another brothel? Was our information leaked? Were our identities revealed? We must be relentless and adapt. Thanks to the dedication of everyone involved, Linda was rescued and the two traffickers were arrested. No matter the challenges in our way, we will keep fighting to rescue one. So even if it's just one, they will, which is good to know. Then they go with the domestic law enforcement relations. That's where we fight to protect children in our own backyard from trafficking and exploitation by providing cutting edge specialized tools for law enforcement. In the United States, our develops relationships with law enforcement agencies and offers resources to expand and amplify their anti human trafficking and exploitation efforts. Our processes, it seems like it is the same processes as before. Number one, develop a relationship with a law enforcement agency. Two, identify how our can help. Design a strategy. Four, take action. Five, assist with rescue and aftercare. 6, provide evidence as appropriate to assist with prosecution. Are you a law enforcement officer and interested in working with us? There's where you learn more. If you're one, then you can go to that website and click it. Ultimately, investigators issued an arrest warrant for the suspect, charging him with 1,089 counts of possession and uploading child sexual material, thanks to Operation Underground Railroad. Sheriff Travis Patton from Mississippi. Our impact: 38 electronic detection canines placed in 21 states. 130 plus U.S. law enforcement agencies are supported. The recent success is, we believe, that through collaborations between the public and private sectors, we can protect more children from exploitation and trafficking. Read about the race success, which there's a lot to read. They have a thing where you can click on and you support to feed an electronic detection canine for a month, or you go to send a police officer to specialized training. We definitely need to help on doing that, sending the police officers to get specialized training with this. 120%. They at the top, they have resources, they have joined the fight, they go, what we do, and then I'll go and talk about the aftercare now. We stand with survivors of human trafficking and exploitation in their healing process by providing access to individual holistic care. The Our Aftercare team coordinates with our operations team to ensure that vetted aftercare services are in place prior to operations. We utilize best practices, trauma-informed care, and provide person-centered services for survivors of human trafficking and exploitation. Healing for the one. I will have to turn my mic off again so that, and then change that out so that you will not be able to hear me, but you will be able to hear the video.
Human trafficking is really difficult to talk about.
Police department, get on the ground now!
The exploitation of another human is really difficult to talk about. But if we are shining a light on the issue, that's when we can do something about it.
OUR exists due to the fact that human trafficking is so prevalent and prolific and profitable throughout the globe. It's a $150 billion industry.
It's not just one race, it's not one gender, it's not one socioeconomic group.
Child explicit material is such an issue that continues to rise and continues to become a demand, that you have more and more people that are creating that content. Then you have those teenagers and kids and adults that have gone through that need extensive aftercare.
I call it the iceberg analogy. The 10% above the water is what everyone sees is the rescue. And that's typically how we are recognized or identified. But it's the 90% below the water, and that is the aftercare. In any rescue operation, we already have boots on the ground and aftercare. Otherwise, we won't go in. That's then when the work begins.
Aftercare services are tantamount to a survivor's healing process.
A lot of the times, the struggles that someone is feeling is the pain that we don't see. It's in their brain, it's in their heart, it's in their anxieties. To move on from that, there's a healing process that has to happen, and then there's a strength process that has to happen.
When we first started, there was this idea of You're only doing aftercare if you build aftercare homes. That was kind of the mentality. Well, what if we partner with different aftercare homes throughout the US and throughout the world? What if we honor them as experts in their specific area? What if we do this vetting process, and instead of building aftercare homes throughout the entire world, what if we help improve the quality of care? What if we help meet some of the needs that they have? Then we'll be able to grow in a way that we would never be able to do on our own.
The aftercare team at OUR divided the world into regions. Each one of us has a specific area, and that's how we're able to ensure that we are close with our partners. It also ensures that no survivors are lost in the shuffle.
You have to create authentic relationships. It can't be this cookie cutter, this is all we provide. That's why I love the partners that we're working with. They provide all these different services.
We rebuild the faces of men, women, and children who are survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking. We can't go in there and someone's come out of a situation of being trafficked for 7 years and we go in and fix them, surgery-wise. You have to heal on the inside as well as heal on the outside. So we are the complement to all of the other non-profits who do one part and we go in and do another.
The model of the Dream Center is really find a need and fill it, find a hurt and heal it. Because our motto is just find that need and fill it, we plop down right in the heart of an area of human sex trafficking. If we can prevent one young woman or one young man from being captured into that situation, that's a win for us.
Equine therapy offers an even playing field for someone to take the opportunity that's in front of them and create the roads of healing.
We have 3 residential programs on campus. The one that we began with is for women survivors of trafficking.
For them to be able to trust people again and realize that people are there to encourage them along life's journey, that is what we're really wanting to accomplish.
OUR does it right because they do keep the perspective. It is about the survivor first.
Operation Underground Railroad wants the best for their survivors.
What OUR is doing is incredible.
As we rise up together and as we shine lights on these different areas of exploitation, of human trafficking, it changes the world. And if it doesn't change the whole world all at once, it changes one child's life, one adult's life. And when you can help impact one person's life, you've changed their world.
Very profound. And it was, and it leaves me speechless. I'm sorry, but it does. It leaves me speechless. Okay. I had learned a lot from just going right here. And there's another couple of videos that I will watch, I would show also. So I got to change it back to, so bear with me, please.
Ashley. How are you?
Good. A lot of us in our life, we've had a journey. We've gone through something.
I'm about 4 minutes away.
Okay. We're a human being. We have to have had pain and hurt. And you have to heal. A victim is someone that stays in the darkness and chooses not to go forwards. We like to work with survivors who want to change their life, who can be independent. They've gone through a tragedy, but they are looking forward to walk and go forward for their tomorrow. And that's what I call a survivor. Face Forward started in 2007, which was actually just an idea I had to help survivors of domestic violence. We rebuild the faces of men, women, and children who are survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking.
We see everything from broken noses, cheekbones, eye sockets, body scarring.
I thought, really honestly, it was going to be something I would give a few hours a month to. And very quickly, I realized I would have to make this almost full-time, because unfortunately, there was so much domestic violence in this country and around the world. And a lot of people don't talk about domestic violence because there's shame to it, so we don't hear it as much. But when you go behind the scenes, it's a little overwhelming.
2019, I think we had 7 acid attack patients from 6 different countries around the world.
It's not how someone looks, it's how they feel. We can have a very extreme case where a girl is a human trafficking survivor and you don't see any of the scars. And then you have someone who is an acid survivor from domestic violence and you see all of the scars. But really, at the end of the day, they're going through the same journey because they have to heal inside.
Our trafficking cases, which the most common has probably been explants of sorts, where their bodies have been modified by their traffickers to make them more appealing to their clientele. The tattoo removal, that was an area that we didn't expect, but that was something we learned very quickly was highly common with traffickers tagging or claiming their girls.
If you have a survivor and you've had implants put in you that are a ridiculous size and it's causing you pain, every time you look in the mirror, you're reminded of what you went through, where it came from, and why you want to take this out. And that's exactly what we deal with a lot of the patients.
Hi, lovely. How are you? Excited to hug you.
You're healing the wound, and that can be visual or insight.
I'm so excited.
Are you?
Yeah. I just know when I see the doctor, I'm gonna just cry.
Aww. They changed your surgery time to 11:30. Raquel has her appointment that morning as well, and then I'll take you afterwards to surgery.
All right. I just thought of something today. 2012 today, I got branded by my ex-trafficker. Now I have it covered up. That's so interesting. Here I am today.
On the day, what did you put over your other tattoo?
2 Corinthians 5:17. Anyone who's in Christ is a new creation. The old has passed, the new has come. All right, I'll follow you.
Yes, ma'am. Thankfully, you're on the first floor. And Raquel, you will love. She was an absolute sweetheart. Hi, lovely. How are
Hey,
you?
girl, hey.
How are you?
Hi.
Good to see you, love.
Can I give you a hug? Yeah. Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
Raquel, Ashley, Raquel.
Yes, nice to meet you.
It's a difficult situation because in Guatemala, I was the first case with acid attack. And the people think like you have to do something bad for the people do this to you. It feels really bad because it's not my fault. And the people want to, I believe that it was my fault. They do many bad things with my family and I. Una persona que fue mi novio, habíamos estado saliendo por un año. Yo decidí terminar esta relación y después de eso vino el ataque.
If you don't mind me asking, how long has it been since the attack happened to you?
7 years ago.
I had no idea about acid attacks. I was like, what is that?
That happened to me. Even the doctors in my country, they don't know what to do with me.
Right.
It was so difficult. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Hi. Good. I'm be so emotional.
We can't go in there and someone's come out of a situation of being trafficked for 7 years and we go in and fix them, surgery-wise.
I thought this shirt would be good to wear and sex trafficking.
You have to heal on the inside as well as heal on the outside. So we are the complement to all of the other non-profits who do one part and we go in and do another. I actually was researching non-profits and what OUR is doing is incredible. I see that the partnership is with Vague Rescue and we can, if there's parts that need reconstructive surgery, we're that piece of puzzle that they need.
Hello.
Hi.
You must be Ashley.
Yes, I get to meet you. I'm sorry, that's a good foot.
Yeah, good to meet you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Go back to my office and we'll talk about what we're going to do, what the plan is.
Yeah, I'm kind of
Okay.
nervous now.
Definitely.
I got my surgery in Houston, Texas. I'm surprised no one knew what was going on because I had a way older gentleman with me and I was super skinny with blonde hair, getting 800 cc's.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that large of an implant is going to cause back pain, neck pain, probably. Have you experienced that?
All the time. It takes my whole body to sit up straight. I have indentations in my shoulders really bad. I have headaches all the time.
It'll take away, I would say, all the back pain, neck pain. I'm confident you'll be very happy, finally.
Yeah, I don't remember what that feels like to be how I used to be.
Fue una espera de tanto tiempo. Al fin lo conseguí, Dios me dio esta oportunidad. He tenido 5 cirugías múltiples, un colgajo para la nariz, en el pecho, en el cuello, en el ojo. Yo pude tener los mejores doctores. Mi familia se queda como sorprendida de la forma en que mi rostro ha cambiado. Creo que es más como sanar mi interior y aceptarme como soy ahora.
When a survivor looks in the mirror, whether it's a tiny little scar or it's a big scar, that's all they can see. We've had some patients who've had the most horrible burn injuries you can see.
Hey, Raquel. Enjoying yourself in Los Angeles?
The common philosophy with a lot of catastrophic injuries is, number one, restore function, make sure they can swallow and breathe and get vision back if you can.
How's your breathing? Can you breathe a little bit now?
Number two, at least get the wounds closed so you don't have big gaping wounds and things like that. And that's typically where the system leaves them, but they're still horribly scarred.
You had lost all the tissue in the end of your nose here from the burn injury, so part of your forehead here.
We're trying to put an end to that and to move medicine forward. We're creating a system now of cosmetic burn reconstruction, where you have patients who have basically been brought as far as they can with the system, but then we look at them and say, we can make you look better.
Everything's looking really good, Kevin.
Okay, thank you.
See you, I guess, in a couple weeks, probably. Okay, all right,
I feel so nervous, but I feel excited too because I think new things coming with me.
Good day, good day. It is. Last time I'll be in pain. Ma'am.
I'm so excited.
All right, I will check on you.
Thank you.
You're going to be fantastic. You're in good hands.
A victim is someone that stays in the darkness and chooses not to go forwards. We like to survivors who want to change their life, who can be independent. They've gone through a tragedy, but they are looking forward to walk and go forward for their tomorrow. And that's what I call a survivor.
When you have an opportunity of horseback riding and really take that moment and make it your own, engaging with that horse, bonding with that horse, getting past the challenges, create that connection with an animal, there's nothing that can stop you from there. Equine therapy offers an even playing field for someone to take the opportunity that's in front of them and create the roads of healing. A lot of the times, the struggles that someone is feeling is the pain that we don't see. You tell him where he needs to go and stay confident in yourself. It's in their brain, it's in their heart, it's in their anxieties. I'm gonna walk with you. It'll be all right. I started working with a survivor. Someone who has traveled roads that none of us ever want to see. Her husband, she never thought that there was going to be an end of this horrible daily nightmare. 1, 2, 3. When she finally found the strength, she had to stand in front of her predator and saying, I've had enough of you. This way, go left. This way, go right. To move on from that, there's a healing process that has to happen, and then there's a strength process that has to happen. You good? Yeah. We have to give them avenues and tell them that you can be anything that you want. Look left, squeeze left, go left. That's right, but we'll go that way too. Gotta stand though. Look right, go right. Be tough. You never want to look down. You're looking down, you're looking for a place to land. Don't let him go. Don't come to me. Be a boss. Where I want you to go, along the rail, right? Don't let him stop at the gate. Good job. Yep, that's better. Why do you think that horse started to listen to you? Because we're bonding, we're connected. To be a good candidate for what we offer, they have to want to be a leader, overcome challenges that they have in their lives, and have a steady plan and stay on that plan. Remember you said you wanted to help others who are survivors too? Yeah. I want to show others their self-worth. We're the only organization that is horseback riding and education. Remember, don't look down. We send them into this beautiful sport, and then we branch together with over the 400 colleges that we partner with and get them excited about academics. You can come into the sport and enjoy it and get therapy out of that. You could also build a business out of that in equine therapy, or you could be the next doctor, psychiatrist, equine therapist. Operation Underground Railroad wants the best for their survivors. They recognize that this is a healing process that's very natural. A horse can give so much value to that survivor. When a rider's sitting on a horse, that horse is eavesdropping on every single thing that you are experiencing inside of you. If you're nervous, it sends it right through to that horse. If you're confident, he knows that he can go forward and he can create his path. That doesn't just happen from turning a switch. It's something you have to feel, you have to engage, you have to experience. When I'm with a student, we start out from the ground together. When I mount them onto a horse, we start it out together. Then there's a branch off where we start to see progress and they go out on their own. This is a pivotal moment. You have to continue to be persistent in what you want. Our goal is to always see them own the moment and steer in the direction that they want to go to on their own. Then they can say, I did it. There is nothing more beautiful than this.
The model of the Dream Center is really find a need and fill it, find a hurt and heal it. Every Dream Center looks different. For this specific community, we have a couple of different areas. We hold outreaches into the community to help out the homeless, incarcerated, addicted, and for human trafficking, it's been huge. Because our motto is just find that need and fill it, we plop down right in the heart of an area of human sex trafficking. 27th Avenue is still very much active. It's not just one race, it's not one gender, it's not one socioeconomic group. Aftercare services are tantamount to a survivor's healing process. It's great to get them out of that situation, and that's critical. But if you never deal with that trauma that got you there or that kept you there, it's just going to be a cycle. If we can prevent one young woman or one young man from being captured into that situation, that's a win for us. OUR does it right because they do keep the perspective. It is about the survivor first. Collaboration is key. They've been a huge supporter of us. To be able to be partnered with an organization that wholeheartedly believes in the same effort. And just with what they did in Mesa has been absolutely fantastic for us. The first step is to do something. The only way that we fail in our cause is if people hear and do nothing.
They need to do a quicker way of being able to get back to the voice. So they want to talk more about, go back over here to human trafficking. Settings. Thanks for whoever's here. You kindly give me a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. We go join the fight. About us. All right. Then there's children need families. So, as a project of Operation Underground Railroad, CNF is committed to efforts that benefit at-risk children and youth across the globe. These efforts include adoptions, grants, collaborations, and outreach. What is Children Need Families? Children Need Families is a preventative project of Operation Underground Railroad committed to adoption initiatives that benefit at risk children across the globe. Our recognizes that healthy adoptions can be a step toward the prevention of child exploitation. While CNF is not an adoption agency, the primary mission of CNF is to assist adopted families already in the adoption process by offering a financial grant. Children Need Families envisions a world where orphanages are empty and homes are filled. Our impact: there are 140 families assisted, 223 children funded, and 145 grants awarded. A letter from Catherine Ballard, founder of Children Needs Families. Children Need Families. When my husband Tim and I were adopting our two children from Haiti, we experienced firsthand all the forms, government approvals, legal fees, time, and patience it took to finally bring them home. It was a frustratingly long, confusing, and expensive journey. I wanted my kids safe in my home, but there was nothing our family could do but go through the process, pray, and wait. We were fortunate to have generous family and friends that helped us financially and gave overall general support. It is because of this experience that the project Children Need Families was born. I felt that something should and could be done to help other families through the long, up to 3 years, in many cases like ours, and difficult process of adoption. Well, y'all, a lot of people wonder a way of helping, said they don't have the financial resources. Maybe there's you a resources where you can look up CNF, Children Needs Families. As you know, Tim and I have some experience with nonprofit organizations. Operation Underground Railroad, which was we founded in 2013, exists to rescue children from sex trafficking and sexual exploitation. Statistics from law enforcement teach us that children that live outside the structure of a family are at risk for exploitation and or trafficking. Children Need Families. It was therefore a natural step for CNF to become a special project, a preventative project of our every child who is safe from trafficking is the structure of a family is a child not praying for rescue from trafficking. CNF is committed to efforts that benefit at risk children and youth across the globe through adoption, grants, collaborations, and outreach. There is a lot we hope to change about the process of adoption, and we are working with governments and other organizations around the world to do so. While we work for those miracles to happen, we strive to lighten at least one part of the load, the financial burden that weighs heavily on so many families. The grants to qualified applicants to date, we've assisted over 100 families and over 200 children in the adoption process, and we look forward to helping many, many more. We envision a world where orphanages are empty and homes are full. Our family's wait was long. The process was difficult, but it was worth every form, every penny, and every tear. Not only do Tim and I and their 7 siblings adore our beautiful children and receive their pure love in return, but they are now protected from human trafficking and sexual exploitation by the structure of a family who cares for them. We pray for this outcome for all children who need families and for the families waiting for love and care for them. Catherine Ballard. Here's adoption stories here different directly from the families who have experienced adoption. Read their stories below, which this is the repatriation of a survivor Susie story. This was May the 8th, 2023. Hello, get to know. I'm glad you're here. Hello, Jackie Cunningham. Good to see you too. Okay, thank you for coming, Mary Halen. Susie supported herself financially by braiding hair. She went door to door selling her services to locals in her hometown in East Africa. She had been toiling away in her small hometown, feeling trapped by circumstances that she could control. That's when a chance encounter with a European man changed everything. He offered an incredible job opportunity in Asia. It will be a really good job. It will pay you well. Do you want it? Without hesitation, she accepted it, but soon realized this was too good to be true. Susie's will and strength of spirit persevered despite a horrific experience. Against all odds, she overcame the exploitation inflicted upon her by traveling to Asia with an evil man determined on profiting from her suffering. He raped and trafficked her in his own makeshift brothel. He set up an apartment where men came in and out to exploit her. Yet somehow, after many attempts at escape, no matter how much he had taken away, Susie eventually succeeded in freeing herself from this nightmarish reality. Yes, she escaped on her own, y'all. Woohoo! The drafter lost all contact with Susie. She was alone in a country where she didn't speak the local language and was afraid she would be arrested, as she did not have a valid visa or work permit. She didn't even know she had been trafficked, so seeking help wasn't a possibility for her. Susie tried to make money to survive. She began braiding hair again and doing other odd jobs. But she was terrified. If she was caught by authorities, she didn't know what would happen with immigration. Susie became extremely sick. She had unknowingly contracted HIV and tuberculosis during her exploitation and was losing weight rapidly. Her blood level even indicated AIDS, but Susie didn't know any of this. She was sick and alone. Susie, despite the odds, an hour operator in Asia received a tip about Susie and followed a steadfast trail of hope. That uncovered her story. I'm sorry, I'm about to start crying. This is hope coming up. She was trafficked and needed urgent help. Upon learning this, the Hour Aftercare team quickly contacted her, only to discover she could barely speak due to a severe cough. They stood by her side with compassion as medical care revealed the gravity of it all. HIV diagnosis, which requires lifelong medication for survival. However, bravely resilient, their assurance enabled them to create a treatment plan so Susie never had to walk alone again. Susie has gained 15 kilograms back and her immune system is recovering. She has continued to receive support and she is now home. Susie's story began in East Africa and crossed three different national borders before she ever made it back home. International collaboration is essential to truly combat trafficking. This is a transnational crime. We cannot do this alone. Our international presence makes it possible for survivors like Susie we don't know where to turn to get her help, our team member. And it's got places where you join the fight, the Abolitionist Club, volunteer, event, store, contact us. Let me see the resources. They have a blog. Let's make it smaller so I can get with it. Okay, how can I identify human trafficking? I think that's very important to note. The person who is in charge of this is Alison Smith. She's in charge of getting this together, which we'll tell you in a second. She has undergraduate and graduate degrees in human development and social policy from the University of Utah, where she taught for many years. She has had an extensive career in advocacy for children and families, working in various capacities at both state and local levels with individuals affected by human trafficking, substance use disorders, and the various challenges that accompany them. Allison joined Operation Underground Railroad's aftercare team in 2021 and is currently Director of Education for Our, working to ensure that education, training, and technical evidence are provided to all people throughout the world. Allison is a member of the Utah Opioid Task Force. Says, how can I identify human trafficking? Here's some questions. According to the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, in 2022, there are many key indicators of human trafficking and identifying victims and can help save a life. Some common indicators to help recognize human trafficking are the following. Does the person appear disconnected from family, friends, community organizations, or houses of worship? Has a child stopped attending school? Has a person had a sudden or dramatic change in behavior? Is the juvenile engaged in commercial sex acts? Is a person disoriented or confused or showing signs of mental or physical abuse? Does a person have bruises at various stages of healing? Is a person fearful, timid, or submissive? Does the person show signs of having been denied food, water, sleep, or medical care? Is the person often in the company of someone to whom he or she defers? Someone who seems to be in control of the situation, where they go or who they talk to? Does the person appear to be coached on what to say? Does the person living in unsuitable conditions? Does a person lack personal possessions and appear not to have a stable living situation? Does a person have freedom of movement? Can the person freely leave where they live? Are they unreasonable security measures? Wow, I've got to say about that part there as well. So the next part talks about is human trafficking happening in the United States? Of course, we know it is. It's all over the world. Human trafficking is happening all over the world, and the United States is no exception. According to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, human trafficking has been reported in all 50 states. The National Human Trafficking Hotline, funded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, and operated by Polaris, a Washington, D.C. based non governmental organization, reported that in 2021, 10,359 situations of human trafficking were reported to the hotline, involving 16,554 individual victims. As shocking as these numbers are, these reports are very likely only a fraction of the actual problem. We know it's just a fraction. We know it's probably just a little penny in the whole equation of if you're thinking about 100. It might not even be a penny. It could be a half a cent. Because it is a very vast problem. The following map shows the prevalence of human trafficking reports in the United States, with the red and orange indicating areas with the most reports. Wow, look over here where Tennessee is, right around there. That's around where I am. Wow. And it's got to be bigger over there where you live too, get to know, than what it's showing on this map. Here's more information from Polaris. Top forms of recruitment into the life of trafficking in the United States. Family member and caregiver, 33% are the recruitment into the life of trafficking. Intimate partner, 28%. Employer, 22%. Top recruitment locations, internet, dating site, Facebook, 23%. Y'all hear that? Even Facebook. Street, neighborhood, 11%. There are a multitude of risk factors, vulnerabilities related to human trafficking in the United States. The top 5 risk factors vulnerable are recent migration, relocation, 54%. There's been a lot of people relocated, migrated here to our country, and that's making it even more dangerous for us. Mental or physical health concern, 10%. substance use concern, 9%, unstable housing, 8%, runaway homeless youth, 7%. According to UNICEF 2017, human trafficking is the second most profitable illegal industry in the United States, second only to the drug trade. In addition, sex trafficking is the most common type of trafficking in the United States. In 2021, 72% of trafficking situations were sexual exploitation, taken from Polaris 2021. Our fights human trafficking in the U.S. by supporting law enforcement with needed resources such as funding for specialized training, electronic storage detection (ESD) canines, and forensic investigations equipment. Canine Emory, an ESD canine serving in Pennsylvania, is just one of the many examples of our support in the United States. Canine Emory does a great job during her search warrants and loves being around all people and children. She especially makes children feel very comfortable and relaxed. We have a live victim case involving two sisters that were sexually abused by their uncle that has a sentencing phase coming up. Both girls want Emory to be there for the sentencing. I like that. Oh, yeah. Have the dog testify, which pretty much he's the one that found the evidence. Probably smart enough, smarter than more people. Pretty cool. I want to tell y'all about. We had a Sundrop festival yesterday. Well, I ran into one couple I was specifically talking to, and they had said they had been at like a bluegrass festival in their hometown, you know, where they used to live. I think it's probably in Kentucky. Or, but anyway, they said that it was crowded even bigger than what the event was over here in our hometown, and said all of a sudden somebody grabbed their little boy's hand and he was missing close to 2 hours. Luckily, somebody knew the person and had seen the person who grabbed the little boy's hand and was just walking off with him. You got to think about the little kids' viewpoints. All they can see a lot of times when it's crowded like that is hands coming toward them. So they're going to grab a hand naturally a lot of times. And so thank goodness that somebody was paying attention. But too bad they didn't stop them, but they did go ahead and tell who the person was, and the police were contacted, and they did get the child back safely. Now, yesterday, I also was watching a lot of kids where there was one mom who was walking at least 25 feet ahead of her toddler. I'm talking about a toddler. And she was not even turning around to look at the toddler. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, with this crowded, anybody could grab her. Luckily, I was just sitting there because if anybody would have grabbed her, I was right there for the ready to run in and step up. I was, well, but I was so mad, that she wasn't hyper vigilant. Yeah, and this is how can I, as a parent, protect my kids? This guy right here, this is education and statistics. Is that a video right here? I don't know. After people learn about human trafficking and the evil that exists in the world, one of the most common questions we got asked at our is how do I protect my kids? There are so many possible answers, with each as good as the last. Because of the complex nature of these crimes and the wide array of ways exploitation happens, we can quickly be overcome by feelings of hopelessness and discouragement. The reason I'm laughing is some of the words are kind of hard for me to form at the moment. My surgery, so I'm laughing at myself. way I'm pronouncing. But I'm trying hard. Many times to conquer that feeling, we focus on a specific situation and develop the answer to that problem. If I just keep my kids close, don't let them get kidnapped, then they'll be safe for trafficking and exploitation, we might tell ourselves. However, instead of focusing on situational solutions, we like to highlight four things parents and caregivers can do to help build a foundation of prevention that will reach into all aspects of protecting our kids. They are, let me make this bigger so that everyone can see. Number one, accept the reality of what we are facing. Number two, know our role as a parent or caregiver in protecting children. Number three, understand the tactics predators use. Number four, start the conversation with our kids. Aaron is a very good example of that because he did really well, him and his wife, on teaching his kids prevention methods. Accept the reality of what we are facing. First, we need to accept and understand the reality that there are those in the world who will take advantage of our kids. There are those who will look to manipulate them for financial gain or sexual gratification, among other types of exploitation. Being ignorant to this fact or refusing to accept it is not protecting our kids and only increases the risk of being abused or exploited. Many times when people learn about human trafficking, they ask, is this really happening? The answer, sadly, is yes. The online world is becoming a place where we spend more and more time as a society. Over the last few years, technology has become even more a piece of our lives. We turn there for current events, both local and global, connection to family and friends, learning and knowledge and entertainment. As we move our lives more into a digital space, those seeking to exploit move there too. Predators go where the supply is. In a short video put out by the FBI in 2011, Cyber Safety Sean Henry, Executive Assistant Director at the FBI, puts the risk in plain and easy way to understand it. He says, at any given time, there are an estimated 750,000 child predators online, and they all have a key to your house via the internet. These are people who are online at any given moment, like I said, for the purpose of exploiting a child. And that estimation comes from 2011. You can imagine what the numbers are today. This is 2023. Whoa. It is our opinion that it isn't a matter of it if a predator is going to reach out to your child online. It's a matter of when it's gonna be prevalent in every home, every child. We gotta be hyper vigilant. While it's hard to hear, accepting the reality that there are predators in the world who are targeting children allows us to prepare ourselves to fill our role as parents and caregivers who protect them. Here's the second key point. Know our role as a parent or caregiver in protecting children. Second, we need to understand that our role as a parent or caregiver is to protect our children. This comes above and before all our other roles we might have in life. A child comes into this world with so much innately part of who they are, but one of the things they lack is ability to protect themselves. They're not strong enough. An adult is a lot stronger. That is something they must learn as they grow and develop. Until they learn it, it is our role as parents and caregivers to fill that role in keeping our children safe. We can all recall in our lives at least one time, if not more, where we were warned of a hot stove burner or perhaps to be careful as we stood by an edge higher than we realized. Likewise, we need to be ready to protect our children from all dangers they might face. I'm so glad you're here, everyone that's here. I appreciate y'all. Not too long ago, a family friend, Haley, reached out looking for advice on a situation. Knowing what I do for work, she felt I could offer some direction and support. Her daughter Erica had been playing with a friend, Sarah, whom she met at school. They liked to draw, play dress up, and make believe, all the things two first graders should be doing. One day Erica told my friend, her mother, that Sarah was her girlfriend, now because Sarah kissed her on the bus. This was a shock to my friend because they had many talks about not letting, sorry, my phone buzzed for a minute, not letting anyone touch her or kiss her. She reiterated that Erica, if Sarah tries again, that she needs to ask her to please stop. Later, while looking through Erica's art journal that she colors and while riding the bus to school, Haley found drawings that raised concern, stick figure pictures with detailed private parts and sexual acts. When she talked to Erica about it, Erica said that Sarah had drawn them in her journal and taught her how to draw them too. This added to Haley's concern, and she was now looking for some advice and wondering if she were over analyzing anything of the things. Too often we let thoughts of, I don't know what to make them think, feel like I'm weird. I don't want to offend. I don't want to ruin friendships. Maybe I'm overthinking it. They are nice people, or I would just pay closer attention, stop us from doing what we need to do to protect our children. But if it feels awful strange, then it probably is. Trust that gut feeling and take action to keep your kids safe. I told my friend that she should approach Sarah's parents and talk to them about what was happening, that she should set boundaries to keep her daughter safe, such as no play dates at Sarah's house, that she should talk to the school counselor about the situation and get their support while Erica is at school. These things can be hard to do, and that little voice will pop into your head saying, "You are crazy and making too much of this. You can just pay more attention, but you will never regret protecting your children. You can also make that difference in someone else's life." There was no solid evidence of facts proving that Sarah was being abused, but there were a lot of red flags. Never miss the opportunity to help someone get the support they need by not reporting. We should not be afraid of offending someone or making them feel awkward when it comes to protecting our children. We should put their protection first on our priority list and do all we can to keep them safe. If there is a situation that makes you uncomfortable or the actions of someone raises suspicion, don't hesitate to be the voice of protection for your child or other children who may not have an advocate. It will send the message that you are aware, you are involved, and you are active in your child's life. Understand the tactics predators use. Third, we need to understand how predators exploit children. Their tactics aren't anything new. Through the process called grooming, predators target an individual, they build the trust, and then they learn information about them, and then they seek to isolate, exploit, and maintain control. There are countless examples we can share of individuals who have been manipulated and exploited, but it's more important to focus on the root of the problem, vulnerabilities. As humans, we all have needs. We all need to eat and drink and rest our heads. We all need safety, security, and belonging. We all need friendship, community, and connection. That natural drive to meet these needs can create vulnerabilities in our lives. The reason that these needs aren't being met can vary from individual circumstances to systemic, political, and cultural issues. Generally, the vulnerability that exists in an individual's life isn't due to a choice they made. Take, for example, poverty, the largest vulnerability exploited by traffickers worldwide. Most people facing poverty find themselves there due to inequality in access to education or medical care, natural disaster, or war or political unrest. They didn't come into it as a consequence of their actions. Maybe more relatable is the need for connection, friendship, the need for belonging. the need for acceptance. No one likes to feel alone. No one likes to feel disconnected. No one wants to be picked on, and no one wants to be marginalized. Just like our own needs. If we don't have these things, we're going to go seeking for them. This makes us vulnerable. Predators and traffickers know this. They are waiting to fill those needs. Those looking to abuse and exploit are the nicest, kindest people you will come across. They want to build friendships and offer support through relating to the struggles we're going through. They target those who have more vulnerabilities, those who are seeking to fill the gaps in their life. And then they feel that need. It might start out as a promised job that will lift that person out of poverty they are trapped in. It might start as to lift an ear to that child who is bullied at school or whose parents don't understand. It might start as a friend for that LGBTQ plus identifying teen who finds no support at home or in their community. We need to be aware of who predators are targeted and all the targets they are using to manipulate and exploit them. We need to recognize the vulnerabilities that exist in our lives, the vulnerabilities that exist in our children's lives. We need to recognize the vulnerabilities in, in the lives of others we are close to. We should seek ways to break down the issues that are causing these vulnerabilities to exist and build systems and support for those in need. Be active in your kids' lives. Know the challenges they are facing, the struggles they are having. Fourth, start the conversation with our kids. Fourth, we need to start having conversations with the kids now. Notice we use the word conversation, not lecture, not training, but conversation. By a young age, our kids have had life experiences that are developing their thoughts and impressions of the world. They're not just empty vessels. As they grow and mature, those thoughts become ideals, morals, and values. But we're, as parents and caregivers, to seek to understand and support. One way to do this is by allowing them to be participants in the conversation. I want to share with you an experience I've had time and time again with almost the exact same outcome each time. At my work for hour, I get the opportunity to speak to present in school and youth groups across the country about human trafficking and online safety. I get the benefit that many parents don't get. I am the cool guy from our and not the lame parent or teacher. The kids will generally be more open in our conversations. During presentations to grade school age kids, I go into detail on how predators groom their targeted individuals. I highlight the stages of grooming that include identifying a target, building trust, isolation, exploitation, and maintaining control. I had the kids identify how they would feel if caught in this cycle. Many use words like trapped, guilty, ashamed, afraid, stupid, and stuck to define how they would feel. But there I asked, if you were stuck in that spot being manipulated and exploited by someone, how many of you would go to your parents or an adult for help? Generally, just about 10% of the kids in the room raise their hand. That's sad, just 10% raised their hand. 90% would not go to their parents if somebody groomed them, just because the parents don't have communication with them. Demonstrating what we know that all types of abuse, including online exploitation and trafficking, are underreported. I follow up by asking, why won't you go to your parent or an adult for help? Answers to the generally include, my parents will get mad at me. They would make it all my fault. They would take away my phone or device and fear or threat of a predator made. Kids don't feel empowered to break the cycle of abuse because they don't feel like the support system they need is there. We can start to change this today by bringing children into the conversation as active participants and not just as those who need to be taught. Let's listen to them. Let's learn how we can act in a way that provides the love, support, and protection they need. Learn from the knowledge and insight your children have to offer. You be directed by them as to how you can react if they were to come to you and disclose the abuse that happened. Together, you can develop a plan that empowers them with the certainty that you are there for them, not just in protection, but in love and support. With these 4 points in mind, we'll be better equipped to protect our kids by accepting the fact that there are predators in the world, understanding our role as parents and caregivers to protect, knowing the tactics predators use to groom children, and starting the conversations with our children today. Take action. We can do more, though. We can take action in the fight against child sex trafficking and sexual exploitation by supporting our programs aimed at empowering children and parents. Through programs such as Speak Up and Our Start Talking, an online safety guide for parents, we can build the capacity of the support systems that should be there for kids to disclose exploitation and or abuse. Did you hear that? It says through programs such as Speak Up and Our Start Talking, there's an online safety guide for parents. That's pretty good. We need to all download it and have it and go over it repeatedly. Take the first steps by increasing your own understanding and education on these prevention topics. Then spread the word in your communities. Talk to your schools and districts about implementing prevention programs such as Speak Up and to the curriculum. Invite our speaker to present to a youth group in your community about online safety. Support the mission of our with donations that make it possible to provide these types of materials and programs to schools in addition to the operations and aftercare support we offer globally. We need your continual support in this fight. We are proud to stand side by side with you as we fight human trafficking. And as you can see, this this goes on and on with so many different things to be read and knowledgeable. And here's one. I'll let this be the last one, but I think it's very important to speak about how big of a problem is human trafficking. When someone poses a question, how big is the problem, they usually are looking to quantify an issue. They want a number. How big of a problem is human trafficking? To answer this question, we don't want to just tell you that human trafficking, most commonly labor and sex trafficking, is a huge problem, but also provide numbers that can be readily understood. The program problem globally. According to the most recent International Labor Organization study, there are an estimated 49.6 million people currently living in modern day slavery around the world. This alarming number includes 27.6 million in labor and sex trafficking and 22 million in forced marriages. To make these unimaginable numbers more easily understood, 49.6 million people and about one in every 150 people in the world, or approximately 15 times the population of the state of Utah, according to the 2022 U.S. Census Bureau. And this number has been on the upward trend. In 2016, the ILO reported an estimated 40.3 million people in modern slavery, 24.9 million in labor and sex trafficking, and 15.4 million in forced marriage. All have risen significantly over the 5 years between studies. Human trafficking is a truly global issue being fought by government and non government organizations such as Operation Underground Railroad, which is that's who we're talking about today, currently provides international support in over 40 countries in Europe, Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, Southeast Asia, South America, Central America, the Caribbean, Canada. We also support law enforcement in the United States. The problem here in the United States, when discussing the human trafficking problem, it's easy to think that while human trafficking may be horrific, it is not happening here, not in the United States, they say. Unfortunately, The same ILO study estimates that approximately 5.1 million people are in modern slavery on any given day in the United States. That is about 1 in every 65 people. Wow. Get that just now. 1 in every 65 people in the United States. Child sex trafficking has been reported in all 50 United States. Children can often be groomed by traffickers from very young ages. This process includes manipulation during vulnerable moments, working ankles, and leveraging fears to get the victim to love or trust their trafficker. Human trafficking does not need to begin with a violent abduction popularized by media, which only increases the size of the problem by failing to address the much more prevalent risks. The scale of the problem is the relative scale of a problem must also be considered. Human trafficking is the second most profitable illegal industry in the United States, second only to drug trade by Gould 2017. Drugs are bought and sold in one single transaction. Human beings, however, can be sold over and over again. Some victims report being forced to engage in commercial sex with up to 50 clients in a single day. This system of forcing victims in commercial sex or labor is a relatively low risk, high reward system that motivates others to engage in a trafficking industry. What is difficult to estimate the exact amount of profit this industry brings is yearly. The ILO last estimated the number to be 150 billion annually, and that was in 2014. Okay, it's been almost 10 years. Okay. The massive price tag on this illicit industry only escalates the problem as criminals seek to exploit the most vulnerable populations to their own advantage as much as possible for maximum profit. Define human trafficking. Human trafficking involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act, although force, fraud, or coercion do not need to be present to be considered sex trafficking when it involves children under the age of 18. As it says, DHS 2022 Human Trafficking Hotline. Human trafficking, modern day slavery, forced labor, sex trafficking, and online exploitation are terms people use to describe similar interlinked problems. They all involve preying on victims' vulnerabilities like poverty, unstable housing, substance abuse, history of sexual abuse, assault, child abuse, neglect, drug endangered runaway, recent migration or relocation. That was taken from Human Trafficking Hotline in 2019. Those who are marginalized or in difficult circumstances are often the most vulnerable to being trafficked. Human trafficking and technology. Technology and a world of online exploitation are only making the human trafficking situation worse. At any given time, there are an estimated 750,000 child predators online, and that was back in 2011. That's been a lot of years. The internet's grown. There's a lot more ways, which there's Facebook now, which I don't know if Facebook was around in 2011. It might have been MySpace. These predators prey on vulnerabilities to recruit victims into trafficking. Remember, there's even when you do online gaming on your Xbox, there's actually some predators that goes on there just to talk to kids as well. This material can then be used for extortion or sextortion for further sexual acts or images. These traffickers have adapted with changing technology to make it work best for them. What can you do? With all this discussion about how enormous human trafficking is, it may feel like there isn't much you can do to help, but there is. If you believe you may have information about a trafficking situation. Call the National Human Trafficking Hotline, toll free at 1-888-373-7888. If you are unable to call, you can text the hotline at 233-733 or chat the hotline online at www.humantraffickinghotline.org/chat. To learn more about online safety, visit our Start Talking, an online safety guide for parents at ourrescue.org/online safety and text safety to 75004 for online safety tips. Our currently has various films about human trafficking you can watch. The abolitionist shares the rescue of 57 children and the arrest and incarceration of 7 other traffickers. Operation Toussaint shares an undercover mission in Haiti to bring a ring of sex traffickers who bribe their way out of jail to justice. What's happening right here unveils the truth that sex trafficking can happen in every community in the United States. Links to these films and our upcoming films are available at ourrescue.org/films. If you would like to get involved with Operation Underground Railroad directly, you can join our Conductor Club, which invites community members to get involved in awareness and prevention efforts in the fight against human trafficking. More information on our Conductor Club can be found at ourrescue.org/conductor-club. Finally, if you would like to directly help support Operation Underground Railroad and our mission to rescue children from sex trafficking and sexual exploitation, you can donate now at ourrescue.org/give-now. Your donations go directly to supporting rescues, law enforcement, survivors, and so much more. However, you can decide to offer support that makes a difference in the fight against human trafficking. We can tackle this big problem one small step at a time together. Out of curiosity, I'm going to go here to the films, and here's like Stories Matter. There's documentaries like Freedom, The Sound of Freedom. Um, I had played this one a little bit earlier. And then there's The Abolitionist and Operation Toussaint. I will go ahead and I will put my microphone. If y'all want to watch this, feel free. I will be playing it.
Je Papa, nous qui nous sommes là, Papa, nous venons devant assoya pour nous dire merci pour toute bénédiction nous. Nous disons merci pour la responsabilité nous gagnons pour nous capables sauver Timounio. Et puis nous disons merci pour la capacité nous gagnons pour nous capables accomplir la mission ça. Pour nous là, papa, nous demandons avec tout cœur, avec toute force, nous pour protéger et nous avec nous, protéger nous chaque et tant plus faire certain que nous sommes capables d'accomplir la mission que nous décidons d'accomplir. Nous remercions que tout ça fait pour nous.
We have a story that we love to talk about. Young boy on a beach who's throwing starfish into the ocean. Older man approaches the young boy and says, "Boy, what are you doing?" He says, "Tide is low, the sun is high, and if I don't get them all back into the ocean, they're gonna shrivel up and die." The man points to the boy and says, "Look down the beach, look down the shoreline, there's millions of them or thousands of them, there's no way that you can get them all back. Do you think you can really make a difference?" Young boy thinks for a moment, then just starts tossing starfish back into the ocean, turns to the older gentleman and says, "I don't know, but I know I just made a difference for that one."
Yeah, it's right here. It's right here. Right here. Okay. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Go, 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 go. Allez. Pas quoi là, mon cher. Tout le monde. Chef, viens à tout. Mais
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. It's great to see this many of you out. Thank you, each and every one of you who came out today to support Utah's efforts in the fight against this horrible, evil institution that we call human trafficking. With over 40 million modern-day slaves worldwide, thousands of them throughout the United States. And many of you have known about this issue and have been fighting against it and working here for years, some even decades. This is an institution that's been around since the beginning of time. But it's really only now that the mainstream, that the public is starting to gain awareness. And so a little over 4 years ago, a dear friend of mine who was a superstar in the law enforcement community, who was a specialized agent with a very special set of skills, left his law enforcement career, everything that he knew, his pension, his security, to start a nonprofit called Operation Underground Railroad. They've done jumps everywhere throughout the world, rescued kids, and then helped them get to a safe place with their aftercare programs. Tim Ballard, are you here? Can you come on up so we can recognize you in Operation Underground Railroad?
I'll be very brief. To invoke history, in 1791, when the Haitian population rose up and destroyed slavery in their country, that was led by Toussaint Louverture. And then the abolitionists in America were watching. Frederick Douglass was watching and used that inspiration. And when slavery was finally eradicated legally, because it has not been eradicated in actuality, Frederick Douglass said, "Let us not forget the sons and daughters of Haiti, who are true pioneer abolitionists of the 19th century." We'll turn the rest over to God and pray for us all as we take our flights this in the next 24, 48 hours and execute this operation. And I am certain we will have success. Thank you so much.
Most full traffickers. I'm just reading for your word. Well, I think we should do 2 arrest teams. And pick them up as simultaneously as possible. Yes, sir. We're absolutely going to do a job. Your assistance in this.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We're here to discuss preparations for what we are so excited for. It's a day that we've waited a long time for. And we want to thank my colleague, Attorney General Oknam, who's here with his team, and then our friends at the DCPG, the Judicial Police for Haiti. Our philosophy is it doesn't matter what country the kids belong to or were born in, they're all our kids, and we want to protect all of them. But sometimes people in our own country ask us, why are you going to Haiti? Why does OUR, or why would the Attorney General spend time in another country? We need you here. And our response is, on global crimes like human trafficking, we can't pretend that it just happens in the United States. So we work on it here domestically so that we can protect our friends and allies and also protect ourselves so it never comes into the United States borders.
The U.S. creates the demand. The highest producer and consumer of child pornography is right here in the United States. So we know that it's our countrymen that are causing this. And because we look like those evil countrymen of ours, we can get access quickly to the dark, to the evil. And so the police asked, do you have operators who can go undercover into the belly of the beast, into the darkest places and find these kids? And I said, yes, we do. Something happened to me once. This was after I'd quit the government and I was already with Operation Underground Railroad. And I was about to go into this compound in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. It was a trafficking center. It looked like an orphanage from outside. It had an orphanage on the wall. And so the police asked us to go in undercover, like we're gonna go buy kids. And I remember sitting outside the gate, and I always fight with this, you know? See, the problem with me is I have 7 kids. So any kid that we're looking to save, the minute I see that kid, oh, he's 6, I got a 6-year-old. Oh, he's 10, I got a 10-year-old. And so it's so easy for my mind just to put, you know, basically superimpose my kid's face, my child's face, on this victim's face. And I'd fight it, and I'd fight it, and I'd fight it. And that's how I would move on, because of those first kind of couple experiences that just almost destroyed me. But as I was standing outside the orphanage, something happened. I looked in, and I saw 28 kids. And that was more than I'd ever seen. And it happened again. Oh my gosh, they're you know, all my kids are here. And I remember being outside that place. And I thought, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna try to embrace this. I've gotta buy a kid. These people think we're here to buy kids, and they made it very clear within the first 5 minutes, you know we don't adopt kids, right? You know we sell kids. I'm like, oh, of course, yeah, that's why we're here, you know? And I see this little boy walk around from, you know, this dark outbuilding. He walks into the yard of this place. It's a dirty place, it's stinky, it smells like urine and feces, and it was just horrible. And I went up to this kid and I picked him up. And he was my kid. You know, I saw my kid and he became my kid. So I'm holding him, and my partner is negotiating with the bad guys about the price, and oh, I think you guys want that one, okay? And these horrible people are trying to, you know, they're telling us tips on how to evade the police and how they've done this before, how to get them out of the country. So I picked the kid up, and I want to go into the dark kind of outbuildings that are around this compound, but I don't want to look like I'm being overly curious. So I have kids, so I know how to communicate with kids, and I get him to point in the room, like as if he's going to show me something. And I look over the bad guys, and I can tell they're like, oh, he wants to show that guy whatever. So it worked. So I got in there, and it just got stinkier and darker. And as I kind of walked into the belly of this dark building. It got quieter and quieter as I got further away from the sounds of the street and the other kids playing outside. And the quieter it got, the better I was able to hear what was always there, right behind me. And it was the footsteps of this little child who was following me. And I flip around and there's this little girl and she's looking at me, and I don't want to cause more attention, so I give her a candy bar. Now again, these kids are starving. She takes that candy bar and she looks at me, and then she looks right back at the little boy in my arms. And without taking her eyes off him, breaks it like muscle memory, breaks it in half and gives it to him. And I'm just thinking, this is not normal. And then it hit me. Oh my gosh, they're brother and sister. And she's horrified because how many Westerners have been here and picked up a child, and that child disappeared and was never seen again. And this is all she has. The only adults in her life are trying to sell her.
How old is she? 9. You're 9? How long has she been here? How long has she been here? 4 years.
Every 30 seconds, a child is sold. They're sold for sex. They're sold for labor. They're sold for organ harvesting, which is something we're now getting into. There's 6 million children that are forced into one of those 3 categories right now. Modern day slavery really is the plague of our generation. When you consider there's more people enslaved today than ever before in the history of the world, and the world doesn't know. We need to wake them up.
You handle the victory.
Okay. 13 and 14 years old.
Wow.
These girls are going to get naked right away.
¿Cuáles son el trato especial o las restricciones para las vírgenes? Porque en el pasado hemos tenido experiencias, están llorando, no quieren.
Que me hablen. Yo voy. There's one girl that says that.
We tell them.
He'll go and they'll be like,
okay.
Firing squad.
It's a subject that nobody wants to think about or talk about. That's the part of the problem, right? It's so ugly. It's the worst part of humanity. And yet, we've got to do something about it. It's kind of a catch-22. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to happen. Nobody wants to talk about it. Nobody wants to do anything about it.
Everybody, it drives me crazy how much everybody is arguing on they would be the biggest abolitionist going back in time. Well, would you? Because you're not.
Sit down, man. Like, sit down, sit still for 10 minutes, and really look at it. If you did that.
It rocked me to my core to think about, in this day and age, people, adults and children, are being held against their will and sold by the hour to strangers to get raped, and this is their life.
People ask me, like, who are these dirtbags? Who are these people? And I have to tell them, Anybody. Anyone you can imagine, anyone you see on the streets, it's professionals, it's doctors, lawyers.
Judgment Day for former MSU doctor Larry Nassar for sexually abusing gymnasts under his care.
You are a doctor. You took an oath to do no harm, and you have harmed over 256 women, and that is beyond comprehension.
The judge also said Nassar was able to get away with his criminal sexual conduct for 25 years.
Here's the thing that's mind-boggling, right, is that it's estimated that there's over 2 million children. I'm not even talking about the adults. 2 million children currently forced to be sex slaves, raped for money. 2 million. What kind of demand, and this is a scary question, what kind of demand justifies that number, 2 million kids? That's a lot of sick, twisted pedophiles.
Jared Fogle arrived here at the federal courthouse this morning. He had nothing to say. He is pleading guilty to conspiracy for receiving and distributing child pornography and also traveling out of state to engage in commercial sex acts with minors.
These guys want 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds. That's who they want. The answer to this question is not popular. People don't want me to say it. They don't want to talk about it. But what is happening in this country, especially in this country, the United States is the highest consumer of child pornography, or what I call child rape videos, because that's what they are. And it's the Western world.
Sheriff's office, we have a search warrant.
The highest consumers, it's us.
I'm getting hands. You're talking about your computer, okay?
And this is why. They're sex addicts. Their minds are twisted and to want this. I've interrogated dozens and dozens and dozens of these guys over the last 16 years that I've been working in this field. Sure. No one wants to accept what it is. They don't want to believe it. How did you get here? Why do you want this? Why do you want kids? And they all have the same story. I picked up a Playboy magazine when I was 12 years old. And I got more hardcore, and then more hardcore. And then the internet came along in my 30s. And oh my gosh, like I could just, with a click of the mouse, I could see anything I wanted. And then the stuff that I had enjoyed since I was a teenager started to wear off. I wasn't getting the fix. I wasn't getting the feeling that I used to get when I was just watching an adult man and adult woman have sex. Barely legal. But that's when I start searching into the queue, to the Google string. Well, that's not doing it for me anymore. Okay, 16. I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna stop at 16, see what happens. All of a sudden they're at 10. They're at 9. They're at 8. They're at 7. You think you can find this stuff online? Absolutely. And that's what's creating this demand. That's why Johns get on an airplane and fly to Haiti and Colombia and Thailand, because pretty soon the child porn isn't doing it for them. And they need the child. This is why there's 2 million children forced into the commercial sex trade today.
People weren't talking about human trafficking like they are now. And really it's because of the work and efforts by organizations like Operation Underground Railroad. He will never talk about himself, but Tim is a well-respected author, lecturer, professor, and he could have a quiet life doing that, kind of like Indiana Jones. But he has another side to him, and that's his law enforcement career. He was a respected law enforcement agent for many years. And because his heart is so big and he's so compassionate and wants to protect every child and man and woman that he possibly can in the world, he left the comfort of his badge and his pension and his way of life in law enforcement to several years ago step out with a lot of faith to create Operation Underground Railroad. And the time he encapsulated it, nobody was going to care.
You don't just jump on a plane and traipse into a country and say, here I am, where can I go save somebody? There are so many things that have to be considered. You're shedding your badge, you're shedding your firearm, you're shedding your authority, you're shedding all the jurisdictional limitations that prohibit people from doing that very thing. But Tim had the courage to do that.
I think there's something to say about Tim's persistence, I guess is the word I would use for him. He wants to be a consistent influence in your life, and he's dedicated. And I noticed the same thing as he got into government work, that he wanted to get in and make a difference and shake things up. And you could tell he wanted to get in there and make something happen.
I grew up in Southern California. Always knew that I wanted to be a federal agent. I just wanted to do that. I don't know why. It was just like inherent. My family wasn't excited about it. My parents thought it was crazy. No one in our family had been military or even generations back or law enforcement. But it was just something that I just wanted to do. So I pursued it. Everything I studied political science, I studied international relations. My first job after graduate school was around terrorism and weapons. I graduated from graduate school in December of 2001. So the government was wide open for terrorist experts. And that's what I wanted to do. And as I was learning about what happened at 9/11, I learned that one of the terrorists had come from Mexicali, Mexico, and came through the port of entry into California and there back east, and then helped launch these attacks. And I wanted to get on a border. I spoke Spanish. I thought I want to help investigate and defend against terrorists, potential terrorists that would hurt our country. I got to the office in Calexico, California. I had my dream job. I mean, I was sitting on the border. My office was on the border. I could see the Mexican flag waving outside my window. This was the time when we were finding a bunch of tunnels through San Diego and all the way through the border in California. I was crawling through tunnels, and it was great, but it only lasted for about 6 months. And I was called in by my boss, and he told me that we're starting a new anti-child trafficking group.
We knew that bad people were transmitting and receiving exploitive information, very, very dangerous information, and they were violating children, literally, real time.
Julia, ¿cuántos años tienes? 16. Está bien.
And exchanging those imageries and videos on cameras with their cohorts around the world, realized how absolutely pervasive the problem of child exploitation was.
Can you say hi to these guys? Say hi.
Sweet.
A supervisor contacted him and said, hey, we're thinking about starting a child crimes group and we want you to do it. He came home and told me about it, and we were both like, there's no way that we will ever do that. We had 2 little kids at the time. It just sounds so horrific. We didn't think that was something we wanted to bring into our home. My husband has just this light. He's able to see good in the world, and he has a lot of optimism, a lot of strength. I didn't want to see that taken away. We were raising a young family. I didn't want to see that gone. And so we took it very seriously.
My wife and I had vowed that the one thing I wouldn't do was child crimes. So we said no. And I remember going home that night to my wife and saying, you won't believe what they just asked me to do. And she said, well, you're not doing it. I said, I'm not doing it. Absolutely not. And she said, we have kids. You can't do it. And I remember a sleepless night that night, and then getting up the next morning and kind of looking myself in the mirror, practicing my rejection talk. And as I was preparing my speech, my wife came up to me, emotional, tears in her eyes. And she said, we're making a huge mistake. She said, for the very reason I thought we couldn't do this or shouldn't do this is the reason we need to do this, because we have kids. Because we know what childhood is supposed to be. And if it's true that there's millions of kids that are forced into that hell, how do we say no? Because we're afraid of our own pain, which is nothing relative to that pain.
But I told him that I had automatic veto power, that if I ever saw anything in him, that just the dimming of the lights or anything, that I got to automatically pull the plug, no questions asked, and he would leave that group.
And so I reluctantly changed my speech, and it was just one word, yes, and we got into it. And then something happened that was completely transformative for me. We were doing these child pornography investigations, and one of the kids from the video surfaced, and happened to surface right on the border where I was working.
Not long ago, a horrific video of a 5-year-old boy being sexually abused in the worst way was discovered by U.S. authorities. The boy and his 12-year-old sister, they had been kidnapped and they had been trafficked back and forth between the U.S. and Mexico.
Both were sex slaves to a monster of a man. Well, something happened. Divine providence stepped in. And it took place at the U.S.-Mexico border. The boy was seen by a U.S. official who knew who he was, identified the boy in the video.
It was the first time that I was actually seeing one of the kids from the videos. It was an American man who lived in the LA area. He had a big warehouse, and inside his warehouse was a house, like a residential home. And inside that home, there were cameras, hidden cameras everywhere, porn everywhere, toys everywhere. And he'd bring these kids in to desensitize them, and he'd make child rape videos. And as the dust settled in the investigation, this kid ran to me. And I remember he jumped into my arms and just held me, and he was shaking. And he just said to me, with tears in his eyes, holding me and shaking, he said, "I don't belong here." I came home and I walked through the door and I saw my kids running around playing. And I couldn't handle the dichotomy. My brain couldn't handle it. And I shut down. I mean, this is embarrassing, but this is what happened. I remember my knees gave out as I sat there. The room was spinning and I collapsed. Like I fell down on the floor, and my wife thought I was having a heart attack or something, you know, and she ran over to me and just wrapped her arms around me and just held me.
Knocked on my door one day, and of course I usually keep my door open, but I think I was on a phone call, so I didn't answer the door immediately. But I went to the door, I saw Tim leaving, I asked him, "Hey Tim, I'm done, come on in." He was very, very concerned. I could tell he was perplexed. I could tell he was emotionally drained. I could tell that he was needing someone to talk to. And he said, "Listen, I really feel like I can do better leaving the government."
Well, if you lost one of your children to one of these evil people, and you'd do anything to get even and get your child back, which some of our folks are trying to do.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and esteemed members of the committee. Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Tim Ballard. I'm the founder and CEO of Operation Underground Railroad.
You know, I think our own law enforcement in this country needs to get more involved than they are right now.
In 2006, with the passage of the Adam Walsh Protect Act, Congress opened the doors for U.S. agents to better investigate these cases, especially internationally.
It's hard because a lot of this is offshore where they may not have jurisdiction.
However, I often felt helpless by the fact that the vast majority of the child victims that we would find fell outside the purview of the United States.
It's very difficult because we in the United States have a lot of protections for privacy, especially when it comes to financial transactions. But how do we get the information to see a pattern of sex trafficking?
Before this law was passed, it was passed in 2006. In order to prosecute the U.S. side, an American who was sexually abusing children in other countries, you had to prove that that person had intent to rape that child while standing on U.S. soil. So you can imagine how many prosecutions we had prior to this law, like zero. Unless I could tie a U.S. traveler to the case, I would not be able to rescue the children, even the ones that we were able to identify as being victims. But I could find the kids no matter what. It's outside of the jurisdiction, and I understood that. However, that doesn't mean that we couldn't be doing more.
It takes a little bit of an effort, but that's what we've got to do, and we've got to fight like hell to try and get these kids back and get them back on track. But in a lot of cases, once they're gone, they're gone.
We need to find some partners that are like-minded. Is there a way that, we can help each other?
Yeah.
Because we're in the same kind of business. Who's got big lists that we can leverage me and say, we'll help you, you help us.
Have you ever connected it?
I met Tim through, I think, a series of coincidences that led me to one of his books. He's a tremendous writer and tremendous researcher. I mean, he's really bright. So I knew him as an author. And we became friends, and I didn't know that he had this secret double life. I was coming in, I don't remember where it was, but I was coming into town, and he was in town, and he said, hey, do you mind if we meet and talk? I said, sure. I said, I'm going to be staying in the hotel, this hotel. Why don't you just come up? And he said, well, why don't we meet in a conference room? Okay.
Wanting the world to wake up to what's going on, and 2 million children are sex slaves.
And he reached under his shirt and he pulled a federal badge out on the chain, and he sat there. And he looked at everybody and said, am I in trouble? Am I going to prison? What is this?
It's the fastest growing criminal enterprise in the world. I go back to 19th century America to the slave problem, and we should congratulate ourselves. We eradicated slavery. It's bullcrap. We've not eradicated it.
And he explained what he was doing, and explained that he needed to get out of working with the government, and he had a way that we could really make an impact, but they needed $1 million to start it.
$10,000 to put a jump team together, go on a team if it's overseas, I'm assuming.
Yeah, we have jump teams that do this. They're ex-Navy SEALs. They're people like me who are willing to do this.
And I happened to be with an attorney, and he was sitting with me, and I asked a whole bunch of questions, and my attorney said, no, you can't. What happens if something goes wrong, blah, blah, blah. If you're raising money and it's on the border and these guys you're in Texas.
Glenn, aren't you doing really spying on people? And isn't that what this is? That people are using the internet and privacy of their own. I'm not condoning the action, I'm just saying that.
You have child pornography? You're damn right I would. I would do it through law enforcement, and I would do it exactly legal. But I mean, this is child trafficking.
Tim is the most sincere, most honest, honorable man I think I've ever met. And I said, I'm in. We'll raise your first $1 million.
We're not saying we become a police force.
No, I'm just worried that, they close down the wrong door and then,
Bring it on. I will promote, I will.
But when you
I'll help develop with you. I mean, my time, my network, everything is at your disposal.
I had a great uncle and a great grandfather who both died in the notorious concentration camp in the South. They were fighting for the North. I didn't know that. Nobody in my family knew that. They were fighting to free the slaves. They did it. Why can't I?
Abraham Lincoln, when he was grappling with the Emancipation Proclamation, the nation didn't want him to do it. Even in the North, they didn't want him to do it. And he went through something. In 1862, his son died. And he got extremely empathetic. And he started even turning to God and praying like he never had before. Historians have called it a Damascus Road experience for him. Then he just said, come hell or high water, I'm doing this. No one in his cabinet really wanted him to. And he says, I'm doing it. And he changed the course of the war and changed the course of history by making the war about human freedom, liberating the captive. And then the whole thing changed, which led to the 13th Amendment and so forth. This is what we all need to do. Stop putting the walls up. These are real kids, and they don't have anybody. And if we don't open up, no one's going to open up. But when you do open up, it hurts a little bit. but then you become so much more effective in what you're trying to do. And ideas and inspiration, I'd argue even miracles start happening when you do that.
Operation Underground Railroad is a fairly new organization, just over 2 years old, but it's captured a lot of media attention with its missions to rescue child slaves throughout the world.
India, Haiti, Mexico. They go into the darkest corners of the world and work with law enforcement to rescue children from slavery. Since its inception, a little over 2 years ago, they've helped authorities arrest 157 people in 12 different countries. Most of that work...
I never dreamed that I would work in Haiti. I didn't know anything really about Haiti until I learned about a little boy who was born in Utah, U.S. citizen, and was kidnapped in Haiti from his church, where his father was the pastor. And that little boy was taken and he was kidnapped. I read about it in the local newspaper, and I just had to do something about it. I thought that I could make it into a U.S. case, and I couldn't, because it wasn't. It was a Haitian case. The man, father of this boy who I met, who changed my world, is Gesno Marty. And Gesno is sitting right here. Gesno, just stand up. This is Gesno Marty. And I have so much to say about Gesno. We went to Haiti to look for his son, but the only way for us to go to Haiti would be we had to leave our jobs. I had to leave my job because I didn't have enough leave from work. I loved my job. I loved working for Homeland Security. These are the best people on the planet doing the best work. And all the colleagues I had floated this idea to before, in the weeks leading up, said, "You're crazy, don't do this, you're crazy." And John Lyons looked at me and he started off with, "You're crazy." And I'm like, here I go again, But he said something, he said, "You're crazy if you don't try this."
I was encouraging overtly, but in my heart of hearts, I thought, that's going to be a tough go. That's going to be a tough go to leave the security of the U.S. government and go save children around the world.
3 years old, Gardy, his name was Gardy. They kidnapped him from the church where Gesno was the pastor. They took him, this little boy, and they trafficked him. And this happens all the time in Haiti. I remember reading the story, and there was a picture of Gesno, and my heart just melted as a father, just melted for him. And I thought, I have enough experience to know very little is being done to find this little boy.
He was 3 when they took him, now he's 10. When that first happened, I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't even get into my house and sleep, because as a father, my job is, getting my son back. I spent months before I could even get into a house and sleep inside. One of the suspects, I know him, Usually, I don't know for everywhere, but in Haiti, people who kidnap others, they don't do that randomly. They know their victims, Even when the legal authorities say there's nothing they can do about it. One of the time I talked to them, they asked me to bring them a solid lead, and they will come and destroy whatever to get him back to me. But I have to get the lead. This one, and I have no means for doing that. So, sometimes when people are in holidays, and I took my vehicle and going into the mountain, trying to, in a public open market, trying to see if my boy might come there, and a very long trip. I feel that it is my duty, it is, my responsibility to get him back. And I will not let go.
We got to Haiti and we worked with law enforcement and went in there looking for Gardy, and we never found him. What we did find was two things. We found that this child was trafficked through what looked to be like an orphanage. It wasn't an orphanage. And we were asked by the Haitian police to go undercover with hidden cameras and go into this place that was selling children. They were selling children for $10,000, and then they raised the price to $15,000. The traffickers were selling kids, and we were able to dismantle that organization. And we had to buy 2 children in the process. We had to buy 2 children, and they were the key to getting the other kids out. You want this? Be careful with this, okay?
Okay.
After we got those kids out and his son was not there, and I said, Gaston, I'm so sorry. Your son's not there. He's not. There's 28 children that were rescued, but his son was not there. I started to cry, and Gaston was crying, but he only cried for a little bit, and then he popped his head up, and he said, don't you realize what just happened? And I said, what? Yeah, what just happened? And he's smiling now, and I don't know why he's smiling, because he's a very smiley guy, and he has a light about him, and I learned what that light was, because he said, if Gardy had never been kidnapped, then your team never would have come here. And these 28 kids would be for sale or be sold. And I said, yeah, I guess I never thought of it that way. And then he said, maybe the most profound thing that anyone has ever said to me. He said, if I have to sacrifice my son so that these 28 kids can be rescued, he said, that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. And that's when I knew that we would never leave Haiti, because of the spirit of that Haitian man, who then, by the way, went to the police station the next day and he said, I will take home any of those children that were rescued in the name of my son. I will take them home. And he took 8 of those children home that day. And he is their father today in Haiti. And so you see, we could never leave Haiti after that. We decided we had to do more operations. We had to dig deeper, look for Gardy, dig deeper. The more we go looking for Gardy, a funny thing happens. Every time we look for him, we find other kids. I mean, Gardy is the kid whose story created Operation Underground Railroad. What's in the video? What's in it? How old is he in the video? Huh? 14. We got him a 14-year-old right here. Yeah, 14 in the video. All right. Yeah, have you f***ing girl too? You've been f***ing little girl? That's why I like it. I like little girl. That's the youngest person I've ever
Sa PPTA only.
10 years old? Motherfucker! I sat across from these guys, as they told me about the children that they had been raping, and they laughed about it. And they laughed and they scoffed, and they said, you get to do it next. And it's horrifying, horrifying. Now, this was on Super Bowl Sunday, and this is where the story gets very interesting.
On Super Bowl Sunday, a lot of Americans having little Super Bowl parties, hot wings, watching the big game. But a local nonprofit organization that fights human trafficking spent their Super Bowl weekend in Haiti.
I'm going to take the 11-year-old. I'm going to take your youngest.
Timothy Ballard and his team at Operation Underground Railroad worked undercover, pretending to purchase young girls for sex. Ballard says the men sold him 20 minors as young as 11 years old.
It was Super Bowl Sunday, February 5th, 2017. We had set up this operation that what looked like it went flawless.
In Operation Underground Railroad, we always want to ensure that if these rescued children cannot go back to their parents, then they go into vetted safe houses, orphanages, rehabilitation centers. So our aftercare team, led by Ms. Jessica Mass, who is here with us today, spent weeks liaisoning with partners in Haiti, not just Guesno and his safe house, but others whose names cannot be shared now for their own protection.
We'll go into a country, and the first question we ask, if the police or that government wants to work with us, the first question we ask is, what kind of aftercare capabilities are you aware of? These kids, so many of them, there's no home to go home to. It's not like this happy story all the time where it's like, oh, your loving family has been waiting for you in the garden, and the trees are there, and the beautiful flowers, and just go hug them and all is well. I mean, generally that's not the case. I wish it were, but generally the fact that there was no family, or the family was part of the problem, that's how they got trafficked.
And that's where everybody else screws it up. It's where we screwed up. That's the reconstruction part. The ending of the slavery was good. Now, how do we make sure that we provide the tools to be able to make it and to be able to have a fair shot at something that you've never experienced before? I can't even imagine the scarring that they have, and to be able to see them turn their lives around. Remarkable.
We laid out the whole operation. You saw from the video the beautiful Calico Beach Club. We have to play the role of very wealthy sex tourists, and so we had the whole operation set up, and it went beautifully.
When police arrived, they arrested 9 men from 3 separate human trafficking rings and liberated 29 victims.
Our Haitian partners did an amazing job. We made the arrest. We got the girls immediately to the area where we were assured that they would get the support they need.
We were so excited. We were excited that these girls were finally going to have hope and healing. It was just a couple days after that I received the phone call.
We unfortunately got some very frustrating news a few days after the operation.
The traffickers were being released, and that all the girls were released.
They get released. They get freed. They pay money to the right people, to the judges. I remember when we got that word, I remember Jessica, Matt, we were in tears. We were in tears. We couldn't believe that these kids could be put in harm's way again.
Half the girls had family members that showed up, and the other half had traffickers that showed up for them.
These guys who were laughing about raping children were now laughing their way home. We didn't know what to do. We had some long talks about it, and with Guesno and Dimitri, and they just said, please don't give up. Don't give up. There are good people in this government that want this problem to go away. And what happened was what we hoped would happen. The good people who didn't know what happened to us, they came to us. The good people came to us, and they said, we didn't know this truth. We know what had happened, but we will not stand for it. And I'm looking at the good people right now who came to us. The job's not quite done, but it's almost done, because now we need to go back and we need to rearrest every single one of these traffickers. And it will be a message to Haiti, to America, to the whole world, that there are good people everywhere that will stand up for this, that there is light, in this dark world, there's light. If we don't become that light, there is no light.
Moi, je suivre la parole de mon collègue.
I was listening to your word.
C'est moi qui vous dis merci.
I should be the one to thank you guys.
Parce que c'est un choix que vous faites pour aller aider dans le pays.
Because you choose to come help me in my country.
L'aime vini, moi prends poste commissaire gouvernement.
When I become Attorney General,
moi joindre dossier Calico Beach, trafficking d'êtres humains.
I saw that case in my office. I saw that case about the trafficking in Calico Beach.
Donc, moi te dit, m'a fait avec méthodologie. 1, m'a révoqué juge qui est impliqué là-dedans. 2, m'a planifié une opération pour m'arrêter les gens qui étaient là-dedans encore.
First, what I said, I'm going to fire all the judges. Second, I'm going to go and get the other people.
Moi rencontré le président de la République.
I met the president of Haiti, Jovenel Moïse.
Pour me dire si vous parlez pour me faire bataille, ça m'a quitté job.
I tell him if they don't want me to do this work, I'm not going to work anymore.
Première partie c'était révoquer juge.
The first part was to fire those judges.
Moi fini avec ça.
And I've done this.
Mais en même temps, ils envoient des menaces.
But at the same time, they try to
Okay.
Verbal.
Mais je n'ai pas peur.
But I'm not scared.
Parce que moi, je voulais continuer cause là.
Because I want to keep going this cause.
Donc, au lieu de dire merci, m'a prêté avec vous et puis n'a continué lutter contre ça.
Instead of telling me thank you, I will be working together with you to keep working.
Nous allons continuer bataille là.
And we are going to fight.
We finally have our eyes on what's going on. We're shifting our mindset. There's 2 of them that we still need to verify, and we're going to have reconnaissance teams running the rest of the day. It limits what we want to do during the day. We would rather not do a snatch and grab on the side of the street in the middle of the daytime. It's very hard to sneak up to people with the way this traffic is and do that effectively. It's very low chance. I'm talking like 15% chance of actually getting these guys. So everyone knows, Andrew knows this area we're going to better than anyone. He's lived there for periods of his life. So he knows this better. Honestly, he knows this better than the police that are putting us in it. He knows this area.
In a nutshell, top of the trees perspective, our activities tonight are going to take place in Patientville, which is a wealthier part of Port-au-Prince where there's several hotels. There's a lot of working, there's a lot of prostitution going on. And that's where, for Haiti. And it's a place where foreigners come. If you're a foreigner, you're going to come here, you're going to stay most likely in Patientville. And so that's what attracts some of the nefarious activities.
So any questions about the area, we're going to pull up Google Maps. We've dropped pins on everything. So everyone's going to get a good visual of the area that we're looking at.
Okay guys, as we're doing this, tinted windows, and I hope I seen lights back there. There shouldn't be lights back there. Okay, we are in an unmarked van. It's a van that is used for taxis. In a few minutes, I'm gonna have to put my windows down because it's not known to have taxis, you know, having their windows up, freezing.
I understand. In a nutshell, the bird's eye view here is we're going after 3 different targets, okay? And one of them's a female. This is our ace in the whole mission. If everything else fails, we're getting this chick tonight. She's awful. Andrew can go into more detail.
Is she going to be like out in the street? Is she like a pimp? She's got some prostitutes working for her. Do you know what we're going to be looking for?
Yeah, she's into trafficking, and she's a boss. She's the head of a cartel. Okay, she's like a captain in the mafia.
Our hotel's right here, Best Western, Patientville, right? She's literally like 2 blocks away and 1 down, typically. But she kind of moves within, like, I would say a 1 block radius of that spot.
She's crossing the street. That's her right there, crossing the street with a white van. That's her right there. That's her right there. That's the bus right there.
She does not like this.
That's the bus right there.
All those girls are working for her. She's their pimp.
She is.
And she is number one. She pimps out young girls, and she has the elite girls on the street visible. But she has a little house back there where one of our operators has seen underage.
We're now moving
girls.
You know how long that car has been behind us?
It just got
behind us. Just been behind us.
Just got behind us.
Let's just keep it.
Dimitri, it's possible we have a tail. It's possible we have a tail behind us.
Oh, okay.
Hey, never mind. We're turning off.
No,
We're good. If there's any like holes in the logic right now, anything glaring that anyone's thinking about, this is like the time to beat it to death, because this is all coming together like very quick, and there's guarantee there's more things.
You know what I want to do is start with prayer. What about your special prayer?
You want me to pray that
I
prayer?
kind of do, yeah.
All right, we'll just like bow our heads and I'll sing it real quick. Yivorecha Yehovah vayishmorecha, Ya'el Yehovah panav ilecha v'yunecha, Yisa Yehovah panav ilecha vayisim lecha Shalom. May Yehovah bless you and keep you. May Yehovah let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May Yehovah lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. Amen. Amen.
in these houses.
Okay, this is the part that nobody really wants to talk about or do, but it's the part that we probably need to know the best. Somebody gets shot or stabbed or severely injured enough that they have to be taken to a higher level of care. We've got a number of these kids that are going to be spread out in the vehicles. These are what we call blowout kids. So if any, is anybody in here familiar with medicine besides the fire mentioned? Emergency. Okay, so then none of this stuff is going to matter to you. However, at that time that somebody gets hurt and if somebody yells medic, everything else needs to stop. Nothing else matters because we could lose a person at that point, right? So the Haitians are going to do whatever they're going to do, but this group in here, we're going to keep that person alive.
So our target's name is Sho, and she's a pimp who's going to be on a street corner about 2 or 3 blocks from here. We intend to take Sho and try and get if we can, use her to get information. We've got 8 other targets that are out there that were stupidly released. We know that she paid $80,000 to get to someone to get out of jail. We really want to understand where she got $80,000 from. We believe a criminal organization supports her. We've been to her house. She's not living large at all. So she's backed by someone. So we want to find out who paid you the $80,000 and who within the government did you give that $80,000 to. In addition, we want to just scare the living daylights out of her and use the momentum and kind of fear. Just listen, the next 5 minutes of your life are going to determine the next 50 years of your life. This is our plan. Once the Haitians come, we'll bring
It's their country, of course. So
right.
We do what they want.
Perimeter 1 and perimeter 2, as long as we got eyes looking out board with guns while we're in the middle, that's the only goal here. We're making these things like really simple. Look, we don't all rush to the middle of the action, you know, and that's what rookies do, right? That's what, you know, idiots do. They have a job, and even if they don't like their job, like even if it's not the cool job, this is their damn job.
I think it goes without saying, like we don't want them to know where we're staying tonight at all. And if we need to take different routes or just be really familiar with who's behind you and who could be following you, even if it's a little motorcycle, those guys are the worst. Motorcycle guys are bad, and they're going to be informants. So we want to sleep safely, and those driving to the airport tomorrow, we don't want any issues.
Hey guys.
Hey Jim.
Hey.
The guys downstairs, there's...
Nice guys. Okay, 17 guys altogether from my side.
Perfect. The recon one, we're like 3 minutes to deploy.
Oh, he's driving down there. He's waiting.
Je papa nous qui non là, papa nous vient devant à soya, nous va dire merci pour bénédiction nous. Nous disons merci pour responsabilité nous gain pour nous capable sauver Timunio. Et puis nous disons merci. All right, you guys, up there where the lights are, where the lights are is about where she's at. It's this car pulled over, okay? So your machine starts in one side. Are we close, man? Yeah, it's right here. It's right here. Okay. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 1. Go, 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 go!
Go ahead. Right. Front block, and we'll be coming down the front. Just block.
a light on it. Put a light on it. These are condoms. All these are condoms.
Turn the light. Who's got a light?
Condoms. These are all a huge bag of condoms.
You can't grab all this evidence. Yeah, we're gonna grab all. Okay, there's minors on scene. And he's got condoms. You got sex toys. You got condoms in there.
Wait, Capullo. Put a light on it.
Deve ser rápido, que secção do pensar. De lá,
Take a photo of them.
Yo, I'm a citizen of USA.
Whatever.
Okay?
Whatever it is.
And ex-colonel. Okay? So you say I'm an ex-colonel. I'm a citizen of USA.
Everyone, same vehicles.
Same vehicles.
Même machine. How many guys got wrapped up right there?
Dude, it was the American.
Yeah.
Tim, is that a big deal that we got an American made? Is
that all right? He's saying he's an American.
Yeah, he was trying to get.
I don't think he was. No. He was saying I'm an American. So we got more than we bargained for on that one for sure. Hey, where are we? Are we at the precinct? This is very important. I know I said it, but these guys are confirming again. Those were the girls, the same girls that she brought. Same girls. And we think that they live with her. She keeps them captive in her own home.
Non, tout le monde là, tout le monde a prêté dans la prison. Tout le monde majeur pour moi. Et puis tout le monde a vu expliquer ce qui s'est passé, ça me a fait l'autre droit. D'accord? Tout le monde a vu expliquer.
I'm a citizen of USA. Yes, I understand you. So can I talk to somebody to explain what's going on? I'm a citizen of the United States.
The lady, that's the one she get arrested already.
Oh yes, that's right. The Calico Bay. Yeah. And the girls, same girl she brought to Calico. They're minors. Tell them. They're 13, 12, 13, 14 years old. You caught her red-handed. Okay.
Monsieur, thank you. You're an inspiration to all of us. This is another example of bravery and the strength of the Haitian people.
Thank you. Thank you, my colleague. Mais l'essentiel pour moi, ces gestes, ça me permet de faire plus d'efforts.
What's important for me is that we made this effort and we made this happen with a lot of preparation and work.
Et moi prêt pour nous collaborer ensemble pour nous continuer la bataille parce qu'il faut que nous arrivions à zéro human trafficking.
Yes. And I'm prepared to collaborate with you so we can keep up this work to zero human trafficking.
We get the kids out. 4 kids are pulled out of these dens of nightmares, and they're in our safe house. Jessica Mass, our director of aftercare, is with them, and they start to open up. They start to talk. And the one little girl, the youngest of them, starts to cry, starts to tear up. And she said, "This is the first time that I've ever felt hope that I can remember." And she proceeded to tell us this story about how when she was about 6 or 7 years old, she was kidnapped in the wake of the earthquake. Her parents were killed in the earthquake, like so many parents were, and she was left an orphan instantly. And this nice woman comes up, tells her that she'll take care of her and to come with her. This was happening all over in the wake of the earthquake. In the case of Rosie, I mean, she was 6, 7 years old, gets a hold of her, promises to take care of her, and instead puts her into a life of sex slavery. And this was so crazy. She said, "It's amazing that you guys came and rescued me on January 12th. She said, "It was January 12th, 8 years ago, when the earthquake struck." Hey! Hey, buddy. Hey, how are you? This little girl was in the most obscure country in the world. Not only that, she was in the most obscure, darkest corner of that most obscure country, just wallowing in hell, far from anyone who possibly could care. You're so big. A photo? Where? It took her 24 hours after the rescue to even talk because she said she couldn't believe that anyone would come for her. Santa Claus? Who's that?
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus? He came? It's what we are trying to do. Claus came here? We intentionally go to the darkest corners of the earth where there is no hope and find these kids. And what that does, apart from liberating children, what that does is it provides hope for. I mean, there's hope everywhere. If we can continue to grow our operations and continue to get the support we need, there is hope everywhere for the first time. Okay, scoot over. We gotta have a talk. We gotta have a talk right here. Okay. What's your name? Hey.
You gotta talk to Bobby.
Hey, what's your name? What's your name? Wait, no, not yet. What's your name? Pauline Jean-Baptiste? Yeah! What's your name, buddy? We found that the traffickers were selling kids, and we were able to dismantle that organization. And we had to buy 2 children in the process. We had to buy 2 children. And they were the key to getting the other kids out. And we've told that story many times. But what's special about those 2 children is that I formed a special bond with them. And when we were driving from the orphanage to the Sting house, to the hotel, this little boy jumped up into my lap. I'm supposed to be this, hard criminal. After the rescue was done, my wife and I couldn't stop thinking about them. Him and his sister. They were the two kids. And so we started to work towards adopting them. That was almost 4 years ago. And I just got the email today. The decree came out of Parquet. And their names are now Ballard. They're my children. If I lived in Haiti, I could take them home right now. So all we have to wait for now is passports and visas and that, and then they come home to Utah. Where's Kole and Kaline gonna sleep? We have one extra bedroom, right?
Yeah, where's Daniel gonna sleep?
He's gonna sleep with the boys. He's gonna bunk with the boys. With Luke.
There are days that I'm like, Tim and I are like, what? Why do we have all these kids? but just like you look at this little guy, and he is so loved, and just by virtue of the fact that he was born in a family, and that automatically gives him access to this love that we don't even have to think about. It's just there. And there are so many children around the world that don't have that, and that could. There just shouldn't be this much excess with that many children in need.
I'll find him. It's something I don't want to talk about it because I know I will find him. I will find him. One day something will happen, I'll find him.
One thing on my bucket list, what I want to do is I want to help stop human trafficking.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I belong to an organization called Operation Underground Railroad. There are over 2 million children who are stolen, and they are abused sexually, and it's unbelievable what happens. And I belong to that organization, and we are trying to stop that. It's really...
What do you do?
A man called Tim Ballard, and he used to work for the FBI, but he's now gone on his own. So he partners with governments from other countries, and they go in and pretend to be traffickers. So they get people to bring kids in, and they pretend to buy those kids. And then they catch the people who are bringing the kids in.
How much does it cost them for a child?
Anywhere probably from $12,000 to $50,000 an operation.
I'll give you $100,000 if you'll get me 10 children out of slavery.
Awesome! Thank you!
Tony, when you did that $100,000, that just rocked me. I was raised in a Catholic orphanage from the time I was 7 till I was 19. But out of our savings, I can't match you, but I'd like to give $10,000 with your gift.
Awesome, that's incredible. You're the best, that's awesome. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. 10,000 more. Give her a hand right here, 10,000 more. One more? Another 10,000. This is a hand for him, nice job. 10,000? Go see her. There's another 10,000. 10,000? 5,000? You got it. I'll match it. You do? Awesome. Give these guys a hand. Oh, that's so hard. That's awesome.
Now, I know that there's no more fear, and maybe you stay here to hold.
How many are touched and inspired by what these people have done and what you've done? Once you do something like this, you'll never go back. It'll be part of your life forever.
No more fear, and maybe we'll stay here to hold on to as one thing. They won't come round here no more. They won't come round here no more.
They won't come around here no more.
Wow, it's got my tears. Really got me emotional. I want to thank y'all for coming and supporting and listening, loving each and every one of y'all. So please remember to speak out, to help out. Contact ourrescue.org by calling 818-850-6146. Thank you so much, and God bless you.